Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens was a man who seemed larger than life. His eyes were magnetizing. And his body was in continuous movement, taking up poses. His voice was able to mimic different characters accurately, and he used to speak the lines of his characters and feel their emotions. He was dramatic and dynamic, and words poured out of him when he wrote. As a child, he was eager, alert, and odd. He used to go to the pub with his father and entertain the customers by singing and dancing on the tables. He was happy until his father got into difficulty and the family were obliged to go and live in a debtor's prison. Charles had to work in a blacking factory, putting the substance that made shoes black into containers. He was 12 years old and he never forgot it. He knew what it was like to suffer humiliation and cruel conditions. And he not only wrote about it, but helped change it. When he wrote Nicholas Nickleby, describing the terrible conditions of children in Yorkshire schools, many of the schools were closed. It is said that he invented the English idea of Christmas when he wrote Christmas Carol and created the character Scrooge. Christmas? Humbug! London was in the throes of the Industrial Revolution. It was chaotic and packed with all sorts of different people. Real characters, as we say. They were the raw material of his novels and stories. He used to write comedy, drama, and tragedy at the same time. He called it Streaky Bacon. The novels were published in episodes, and people would have to wait for the next installment. Rather like you might do today, watching television series or soap operas. He wrote 14 major novels and created scores of wonderful characters. Towards the end of his career, he gave performances of his novels, readings, and thousands of people were turned away because the halls and theatres were full. The vitality of his readings was so great that people would laugh, cry, and follow every word. And at the end, Charles Dickens was exhausted and had to lie down. His novels are sometimes considered exaggerated, but remember, the transition between well-spread dinner tables and deathbeds, funeral garments and holiday clothes, past and present, are more common than we think, even though we may make no note of them. When he died, he was buried in Westminster Abbey in Poets' Corner, surrounded by the busts and graves of some of the most eminent English literary figures. For he was considered to have been a man who spoke for his time.